Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yoder of Coriander Quilts, and I'm excited to bring you block 2 for the Beautiful Day Mystery block of the month today. The pattern just released on my blog, so you can find it free there. I'm going to link to that in the description. My blog is corianderquilts.com. Last month, we made the Starry-Eyed quilt block for this mystery block of the month. And this month, our block is called Rosy Wonder. It's a really simple block to piece, and I'm gonna walk you through that so you can have no problems making your block this month. Let's look at what we need. I have everything laid out on the table here, and no triangles, no stitch and flip. It's a very simple block this month. Now I'm using apricot and ash fabrics as I am leading you through the tutorials. On my blog, when you visit there, you'll see that I'm using Beautiful Day fabrics for the big quilt that I'm making, and you can go see those blocks that I made using this pattern there. Let's start sewing this together. The first things that we're going to want to do are to sew together our B strip to our D strip, as well as sewing our C strip to our E strip. So I am going to sew those together, and then I'm going to show you how I go about cutting these apart. The next thing that we want to do after sewing those strips together is we're going to cut our strip sets apart into smaller pieces. This is the EC strip set, and I'm going to cut that one first. So this is the smaller strip set. It measures 18½ inches long, and this one gets cut into 4½ inch segments. So I will go ahead and do that here for you. You will have a little bit of room to trim off your ends if you would need to trim off over on this side. Oh, let me move this up a little bit. If you would need to trim off over on this side, you have a little bit of room to trim off on both ends. So you can square that up very nicely. And we're just going to cut this into 4½ inch chunks, like I said. This is that Quilter's Select ruler again that I mentioned I like using so much. And we're just going to need 4 of these. It's nice when you sew these strips ahead of time rather than cutting smaller pieces and then doing a bunch more sewing together. When you do strip sets and then cut, it just goes a little bit faster. So you can see I've got a ½ inch left over here, so I could have trimmed it, you know, a 1/4 inch off the left side, and I still would have had enough to get what I needed out of those. So I'm going to set those to the side. Now out of our DB strip set, this is the longer strip set. On this one, we're cutting this into 2½ inch segments. And we are going to need, let's see, we need 8 of these, 2½ inch. I'll move that up a little bit so you can see the bottom. There we go. Okay, 2 1/2. If I'd be cutting a lot of these, I would use my Stripology ruler. If you haven't had a chance to use that, that's a really nice one for cutting a bunch of strips. Okay, so that's what these are going to look like then once you have those done. 8 of those. Now I'm going to show you what we need to do next. You're going to sew together these sets and these sets, and the way those are going to look, you'll have one of those in the center, and then you're going to take one of the littler ones and sew those on each side. Now when we pressed our strip sets, we pressed towards the dark fabric. So these are going to nest really nice for you guys when you sew those together. We're going to sew all of our pieces that we cut into units just like this. So you will end up with 4 of these. Let me go sew those together. I have sewn those segments together. Let's take a look at what that looks like now. I've laid out those pieces around my center panel square, and I've also laid out the A squares in the 4 corners. These are pressed out away from the center. That's what the back of those looks like right now. All of the pressing instructions are included in my patterns, so if you ever have any questions about how to press things, just refer to the patterns. Now when we sew these together, we'll sew our top row together, and these will get pressed out towards these squares. We'll sew this row together, these will get pressed towards the center, and then our bottom row will be pressed away. I will go ahead and sew all of those together, and I'm just going to go ahead and assemble the block from there right away, which will be just sewing those 3 segments together. Let me go do that, and I will show you my completed block. And we have a completed Rosy Wonder block. So that was a nice simple one to piece for this month. Now I just made one for this tutorial because I'm going to be making a table runner using the blocks that I'm sharing here on this channel. If you're making the quilt, you're going to need to make 4 blocks this month. Every month we make 4 blocks using the same block pattern. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, you can visit my blog to see my Beautiful Day blocks using this same pattern. I have a lot of fun videos planned in the upcoming weeks, so if you enjoyed stopping by and you want to make sure not to miss any of those, I'd love if you'd subscribe, and I hope to see you back here soon. Thank you so much for stopping by.